indicated, for the sake of time, I'll just take you through the scorecard, and maybe just to let honorable ministers present here that before we come here to Baku, we shared this scorecard for their appreciation through the permanent missions based in Addis Ababa. So I'll take you through the scorecard as already indicated. From AUF1 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, we went to Nairobi and we had our outcome document, which was based on the key themes that were discussed during the Second Africa Urban Forum. We focused on infrastructure and urban development. We discussed issues on the transformation of informal settlements. We discussed the issues of innovative financing, as the speakers have already indicated. And from those, we came up with the key outcome document, which is our Nairobi Declaration. And as already indicated, the issue was that we should move away from just talking, dialoguing. Let us come up with something that we can use to track progress of member states and to also provide the means for monitoring, reporting, and verifying. And hence, we came up with this AUF2 implementation scorecard. As indicated, our challenges have been outlined across several dialogues. We have the weaker accountability mechanisms. We have the fragmented urban data systems, limited implementation and tracking of what we are doing. So our belief is that coming up with this tool as African member states, we will be able to harmonize our continental reporting in different forums to discuss how we are advancing sustainable urban development. It will also strengthen our accountability system and also support evidence-based decision-making and enhance peer learning and exchange of ideas, as well as reducing the reporting burdens. As already indicated, the strategic goals is to provide the harmonized framework. For the sake of time, let us just go to the scorecard itself. It is tracking implementation across the 6 pillars that we find in the Nairobi Declaration, which we discussed. And on this scorecard, for us to monitor progress and to indicate where we are as member states, we have developed a scoring card or score scale, 0 being no progress, and 1, we allocate it to the initial steps because we know how the processes go through various mechanisms, and then 2, we would allocate for monitoring progress, 3 to be on track. Let me also highlight that this framework is going to be aligned to different actions, actors, indicators, and means of verification. And let me go through, as I already indicated, the pillar 1, just for orientation purposes, and for those who were not with us in Nairobi, the pillar 1 was on political commitment and policy reform, land infrastructure and supply, fiscal reform, capital markets and finance, and pillar 4 was on national urban policies and territorial planning. Pillar 5 was on urban climate action and natural risks, and 6 was on inclusive communities. And across these 6 pillars, we have what we call the cross-cutting themes, being gender equality with inclusion, informality, and of course localization. So the scorecard, if I have to take you through it, is that on political commitment and reform, the first thing or the action was that we should try as much as possible to align SDG 11 and Agenda 2063. And what are the actions that we are proposing? We are proposing that we should fast-track SDG 11 and Agenda 2063, as we have discussed and agreed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and Nairobi. And who is responsible for this? The actors are as the member states, the African Union Commission, and the development partners present here. And the indicators, how are we going to track? If we are in track, is to look at the countries that are integrating SDG 11 targets into the national development plans. We can also do that by tracking countries which are reporting on SDG 11 progress to the Specialized Technical Committee of the African Union annually. And the means of verification. We would check on the national development plans and the STC report as the means of verification. And then pillar 1.2, still under political commitment and policy reform, was to develop integrated housing and urban policy reforms. This is what we agreed to when we were in Nairobi. And to do that, we keep on updating. We expect member states to update the urban planning regulations and embed housing in all fiscal frameworks. In Nairobi, we discussed that housing needs financing mechanisms. Housing housing is a job creation aspect. So we would expect member states to integrate this into their fiscal framework. And to verify that, we will look at countries that have updated their policies, countries that embed housing in the national framework as indicated, and the existence of the housing and budget lines, and we will verify that through your policy documents. When you submit or when you present, we will want to see that evidence being made visible. And of course, the national budgets. We would want to know how much are you allocating in infrastructure development, housing, and service provision across cities and territories. How much are you allocating for the national budget? And then pillar 1.3 was on enforcing or strengthening continental policy platforms. This one, we expect member states that UN Habitat is launching a program on Africa's affordable housing program. So we expect member states to come together and join this bandwagon and operationalize this framework. And then another thing that we also want you to come together with us is on strengthening STC as your coordination mechanism and supporting it. And for us to say we are on track, the indicators is that we are going to look at the countries who are willing to obtain or sign this affordable housing compact that is being launched by UN Habitat. And to also look at the percentage of the stakeholder platforms that we have established. So for the sake of time, let me just go to pillar 2 because the indicators are many. And then on pillar 2, we are also going to look at the land infrastructure and housing supply policies. Across these, we are going to see how are we dealing with issues of land, because the tenure of security is also a problem when it comes to dealing with informal settlements. These are the key issues that we are going to look at. And then the other issue is that housing and land are interconnected. There's a nexus in between. So our interest is to see how do you fast track land allocation? How do you fast track land development? So we expect member states to develop land tracking and planning policies and even digitalize that, because digitalization has been found to be a fast tracking progress mechanism to ensure that land is allocated on time. People have got access to land to build their shelter. And then let us move to the next pillar, the fiscal reforms and capital markets. The ED and the Honorable Minister have indicated that housing is a key issue or key aspect for housing delivery. So we are going to look at our capital markets and financing. How are we making sure that we provide for the property tax as part of the resources mobilization? And then how are we also making sure that the fiscal transfer and decentralization is up in place? Because as we indicated in Nairobi, local governments are at the forefront of service provision including housing. So how do we strengthen our fiscal transfer to make sure that they got adequate financing? For the sake of time, we have the national urban policies and territorial plans. And then on this one, we are going to look at the adoption of the national urban policies. And then on climate action and natural risks, there are some actions there that we are also going to check. How far are you going? And we expect you to have the verification mechanism. And the last pillar I want to share is on inclusive communities. We have agreed that we should make sure that communities are at the forefront of whatever that we are planning. We have people-centered policies, people-centered service delivery. And the implementation modalities is that the AUC, through its STC Secretariat, is going to be the lead coordinator. And we cannot do this without our key technical partners, the UN Habitat, the UN Economic Commission for Africa, our African Development Bank, and UCLG Africa, and other partners outside Africa that is supporting us. And on the reporting arrangements in member states, Honorable Ministers, is that we would expect to have this annual reporting. And then the AU Digital Monitoring Dashboard, we are going to develop that dashboard as well, so that when we submit this report, we are able to put it into dashboards to show how far we are faring. And then during our national urban forums, as we have this mechanism where we expect ministers to provide statements, we would expect you to integrate this scorecard reporting into your reports, and of course the voluntary local review the national reviews. So what I will share, this is the last slide on the recommendations. We do recommend to the member states that let us adopt this EU scorecard, and then let us commit ourselves to report on this and to also develop and operationalize the digital scorecard that we talk about and to align all the frameworks. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, God, for the presentation. Excellencies,